I'll tell you what, we wanted to...
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year, and welcome to the Borough of Englewood Cliffs Sine Die Meeting, the Mayor and Council. Today is January 1st, 2018. It's 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, have a roll call, please.
Mayor Kranjak,
Here.
Councilperson Zaversa, E. Park, here. O. Here. Councilwoman O is participating via phone. McMorrow,
Here.
M. Park,
Here.
Wu,
Here.
Borough Attorney,
Present.
Municipal Clerk, and Borough Administrator.
Thank you. Would everyone please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please read into the record the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the press and posted as required. Date and time of this meeting was legally given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. This notice is on file with the municipal clerk and posted on the bulletin board. Minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public upon the completion of typing and proofreading by the municipal clerk.
Thank you. We received 2 items of correspondence since our last meeting in December. One from Adonis Morfesis, he's a resident. Another from Russell Perino, he's the planning board annual report. I'd like to have the Finance Committee chairperson speak to the payment of claims for the period from December 14th, 2017 through December 31st, 2017.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the claims in the amount of $1,103,980.62 be paid. I've reviewed them, and everything's in order.
Okay, thank you.
You are.
You need a second?
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorrow?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu.
Yes. Thank you. We're going to have a motion to open up to the public now. There'll also be another opportunity at our reorg meeting for the public to speak.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to be heard, please come to the microphone after I recognize you by you raising your hand and come to the microphone. Thank you. I saw your hand go. And by the way, Gloria, Happy New Year, and I hope you feel better. We miss you here tonight.
Thank you.
Lauren Eastwood, 4 Willow Drive. Since the last meeting, I have opened a number of things, including the alleged investigation conducted by Diane Clark about the animal shelter. I read her little notes. All she looked at were the facilities. She did not look into any of the issues raised by the New Jersey Animal Observer. She didn't look into the allegations that the animal shelter was killing animals before the 7-day stray hold period was up. She didn't look into anything about the parvo outbreak that the animal shelter had this past year, which endangers strays from Englewood Cliffs and people's pets, because parvo has a 30% fatality rate, and the animals who survive parvo require extensive and expensive medical care. And she didn't look at their kill rate. For the last 5 years, the Bergen County Animal Shelter's kill rate, according to their own reports, which I have opened, averaged over 1/4 of the cats that were taken in, and almost 1/5 of the dogs that were taken in. Their kill rate in the last 5 years has been almost 40% in 2014 for cats, and it has been as high as 28.2% for dogs. I am here to urge the council to reject the contract with the Bergen County Animal Shelter. I'm sorry if some people find this subject boring and don't care about animals, but some of us do. and look for alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes.
Is it possible to give a handout to each of the council members and to you as well? There are several topics. Yes. And all of these as well. There's like several different. I have some not sure how they also. I will. Thank you.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Okay. I never know if this is on. First, I'd like to know if it's...
a little bit.
More. Okay. My name is Diane Clark, 13 Berkshire Place, Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. The first thing I would like to do is actually make a very happy and proud announcement for our town. Something that maybe, when everybody's ready, something that everybody can be proud of. At our November 13th meeting, the board members voted to nominate our registered environmental health specialist for a statewide award. We all agreed that she was very deserving, and so we wrote a nominating letter and sent it off to New Jersey. This is a statewide. It was presented by the state of New Jersey local boards of health. And our town's residential registered environmental health specialist won the statewide award for outstanding achievement in her field. It's Sine Die. We are very fortunate to have her. Now to address the more unpleasant part of the evening. I was truly hoping that I wouldn't need to do this, but I know that everybody had a copy of the 2 packets regarding the County of Bergen shelter and the Humane Enforcement Shelter in Cliffside Park. There's some additional information here that I think is very crucial in decision-making. And I would like you to understand that yesterday when my friends were out going to the movies, I was home researching and making sure that I had accurate information, not from anonymous bloggers, but from credentialed experts in their field. One is from we'll get to it. There's a list of the people who were involved in the seminar. First, I'd like to just give a little background on my credentials. And I would respectfully ask that all of you save questions and comments until I'm finished speaking, at which point I will be happy to answer, to the best of my ability, any questions or comments that you have. When I was appointed to the board in 1988, at that time I was a member of the Englewood Cliffs Volunteer Ambulance Corps and an advanced first aid instructor. In that capacity, I was responsible for the recertification of the credentials for all of the ambulance corps members. For several years, I was the corps captain, in which capacity I was responsible for maintaining the 2 ambulances making sure every piece of equipment was in good working order, fully stocked. Additionally, I was a certified emergency medical technician. I served continuously on the Englewood Cliffs Board of Health from '88 through 2010, at which time I had a little vacation for 4 years. I was then appointed for a new 4-year term beginning in 2014. During my tenure on the board, I want everybody to understand that I take my responsibilities very seriously. I made it a priority to attend any seminars and training sessions that were totally voluntary, as was the position. But these training sessions were given by experts in their fields, and I felt it was important so that we as a board could stay current on policies and protocols concerning things that could impact our town's residents. Examples were a full-day seminar concerning chemical and biological weapons, epidemics, pandemics, transition of viruses, the Zika virus, flu, Ebola, and the proper protocol for dealing with the schools, for instance. What do you do with school children? How do you contain the contaminants? How do you contain the contagions? Because many of the concerns of the residents had to do recently with the coyotes, I went to a lecture that was sponsored by the Englewood Board of Health at Flat Rock Brook. The speaker was the principal biologist of the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife, with a discussion centered on coyotes, the issues, how to deal with them. So now, background on the Board of Health. The Board of Health in Englewood Cliffs is an autonomous body, which by definition means having self-government, functioning independently of other parts. The Board of Health meets the first Monday of alternate months, beginning with the reorganization meeting in January. Special meetings may also be called, and were called this year, to do the updates of the Board of Health ordinance and fee schedules. We were requested to do that. We did that, and I think the board did a good job. The board consists of 7 members, all of whom need to live in town and be registered voters. The board members are nominated by the mayor, appointed by him with the advice and consent of council. Term of office is 4 years. If a vacancy occurs, that vacancy is filled for the unexpired term only. At the November 13th, 2017, at our last meeting, the board members who were in attendance at the meeting discussed all of the options for the service contracts for the coming year, as we generally do at our November meeting. We reviewed and discussed the contracts for HARP, which is the Health Awareness Regional Program. They're the nurses who come to the flu clinic and give the shots. They go to the senior center, they present programs. A very important asset. We reviewed the contract for the Mid-Bergen Regional Health Commission, which involves our health officer and our registered environmental health specialist, state award winner. And also, we reviewed the contract for the County of Bergen Animal Control. There was unanimous approval by individual voice vote to continue with all of the services as currently approved by individual voice vote, to continue for all of the services that are currently... It's okay. You're forgiven, Loretta. It's okay. Maybe I should turn... They have a lot of their own. I'll just check mine off. Okay. So it was unanimous approval by the entire Board of Health to continue with all of the services that's currently provided for us to 2014 and 2017. In my capacity as the president of the Englewood Cliffs Board of Health, I then signed the contracts for the continuation of the above-mentioned shared services, as I've done for the previous 3 years and prior to 2010. We did have a quorum in attendance at the November 13th, 2017 meeting. Since it seems that the autonomy of our board is in question, I came here to share the facts that compelled us, to continue with the Bergen County shared services that are provided to this town and to 38 other Bergen County towns. Englewood Cliffs used the County of Bergen Animal Control during the entire time from 1988 to 2010. In 2010, the new appointees to the Board of Health made a change to use the services of Vince Atkins and the Humane Enforcement of Bergen County under the disingenuous designation of his shelter being a no-kill shelter. While there might be no actual killing taking place within the confines of the shelter, let me share the facts instead of the emotional epithets voiced at the December 13th meeting. Now, I wasn't here for that because I was happily ensconced in Cabo, but thanks to the webinar, I was able to watch it. So let's start with the no-kill appellation. No-kill has always simplified animal welfare to nothing more than a save rate, disregarding all other aspects of animal welfare and responsible sheltering. 4 years ago, when I returned to the board, I visited both Ascalesa's shelter in Cliffside Park and also the County of Bergen Animal Shelter, it's a long name, in Teterboro. I visited both shelters. Both visits were unannounced, and in both places, I identified myself as a member of the Board of Health in Englewood Cliffs. I took photographs at both places, copies of which you received in an email, you being the council members, and also you were sent an email with the photographs. I hope that everybody took the time to actually look at it. There was other information in there as well. So, I got a lengthy phone call from Mr. Ascalese about 1 minute after I left his shelter in Cliffside. It was a decorous and respectful conversation. It lasted until I got, from Cliffside back to my driveway in Englewood Cliffs. So it was lengthy and it was very polite and courteous. However, as many of you will recall, those of you who were members of the board and those of you who came as a public person, there was a riotous group of Ascalese supporters who showed up at the reorganization meeting that January and very loudly shouted verbally abusive accusations at the board members, specifically at George Lee, a very dedicated board member. As a matter of fact, when I knew his term was up last year, I invited Carol to breakfast so that I could lobby for his reappointment, only to find that he was already poached for recreation, willingly. So, now, 4 years later, here we are again. Because, once again, because of personal friendships with very, very outspoken supporters of Ascalese's shelter, we have another push to hire a substandard facility in place of a state-of-the-art facility. And I will also state unequivocally that I have no personal connection with any staff member or employee of the county facility, and find even the implication that I do offensive and misplaced. Back to no-kill. In researching the topic, and I thoroughly researched the topic, I found several referenced articles written by documented and credentialed individuals and groups who have looked at this issue from all sides, not from anonymous bloggers. Multiple meetings resulted in the Asilomar Accords. I believe there's a copy of that attached to what I gave you. If there isn't, there should be. I also have a few limited number of pages of that for the audience. The multiple meetings of this group of very highly credentialed veterinarians, humane societies, state, counties, and people from the Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals all got together, and the meetings resulted in what is called the Asilomar Accords. Because it was done, I guess, in Asilomar, California. The Asilomar Accords, which are the most accepted national standards for decisions on which animals are healthy and/or treatable, and which animals are unhealthy and/or untreatable. The shelter in Teterboro abides and functions by these nationally accepted standards. This is not a contest between political parties. This is a serious and competent assessment and decision to select the most qualified professional service provider for all the residents in Englewood Cliffs. The County of Bergen Animal Shelter is a state-of-the-art facility. It's clean, it's spacious, it's well-lighted. It has a large outdoor, probably twice the size of this area, where the fenced-in area with a double safety gate, where the dogs can be taken out for training, helping to make them more adoptable, and for exercise in the outside fresh air. They also have large outdoor kennels, which in the summertime can serve the same purpose. It also gets the dogs out so the inside kennels can be cleaned. The facility is staffed by skilled professionals, including veterinarians, who are there. I believe it's on a daily basis. I would have to check that. And they're supplemented by a large dedicated group of volunteers. Spaying, neutering, chipping is done on the premises in a very professional medical surgical area. It's like a hospital area, basically. Every adoptee gets its shots before leaving the shelter. And the thing that I have found out personally after my rabies clinic adoption, they chip their animals, and it's paid forever. A wonderful service. The facility is set up to do a complete assessment of every intake animal that's dropped off at the shelter, whether it's a feral, whether it's a pet that someone can't take care of anymore, or just someone found something and dropped it off. There's a quarantine room for sick animals that come in, and the paravirus that was brought up was a very serious issue because it's highly contagious, and it can be just from walking across a room. It was brought into the facility by a puppy that was dropped off. The situation was contained and handled. The shelter is not permitted, because it's a county shelter, it is not permitted to pick and choose the drop-offs. Since they're funded by county dollars, taxpayer dollars, they're obligated to serve the public. They cannot accept only healthy adoptable animals. They need to take in everybody that's dropped off, every animal that's dropped off. They do the intake, etc. Because of this, their utilization of the Asilomar Accords is how they function. It's how they determine where the animals, how to make them adoptable. By contrast, I would implore each and every one of you to actually visit the alternative shelter that is being proposed. The dogs at the Humane Enforcement Building in Cliffside Park are in crates, not large kennels. If you look through the photographs, honestly, when I went there, it's a two-car garage. It's row upon row of travel crates. This is where the dogs are kept, and therefore they're likely forced to sleepwalk and lie in their excrement due to the small size of the crates in which they are kept. Their exercise, such as it is, and I saw this firsthand because I went back to take another look in September before we made the decision to stay with Bergen County. The exercise area is the public sidewalk outside the two-car garage where they're housed. The cats are in cages by the front office. There's no quarantine room, so the cats with the runny eyes are in with the cute little kittens. It's difficult to talk about this, and it's even harder to believe that it could be like this. And again, I ask that if you have any questions or any doubts, visit the shelter in person, as I did. The County of Bergen Animal Control and the shelter is clearly the only acceptable choice for all of us who love animals and want them to be housed in a facility that is not overcrowded, cramped, dark, and substandard.
Thank you.
I can give you the name of the shelter manager. I would ask them to go visit that as well. The photos speak very clearly to what's there. And the other question, and I'm not here to trash anybody personally because I had a lovely conversation with Mr. Ascalese. He was charged with 14 counts of animal cruelty by the New Jersey Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. He pleaded guilty to minor charges and was actually treated as disorderly persons charges. I mean,
So I think this is a situation where we all agree that we want to do the best thing possible for strays and for dogs
Precisely.
and cats.
precisely. And the
But we
best
just, how we get there is what we're having a disagreement on, or we're trying to get clarity on. I appreciate you informing us. I also appreciate all the work that you've done on the Board of Health. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. It's a long tenure.
Thank you. It is a long tenure, and I'm honored to have had a long tenure, and I will continue in whatever way.
What I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to recommend that we, I think, just table the issue.
Again,
Yes, and we go month to month until we all feel comfortable doing this. There's a couple questions I have, which I will get answered over the next week. Catherine and I are going to meet later on next week to talk about that.
well, my other question is, since we are an autonomous board, I know that our contracts are approved by the council because of the fact that the budget is part of the council's, the town's budget. But we have a contract that we voted to approve and which is signed by me in my capacity as the president of the Board of Health. I would really sincerely from the heart, there's nobody who loves animals more than I do. And there's not one person here who would ever want their pet held for even 1 minute in that facility.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I know it was lengthy, but it really is an important topic.
You went over a 5-minute rule, but it was well worth it. Thank you.
And, Mayor, I thank you very much for no interruptions from the bottom of my heart.
Thanks. Thanks for preparing. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard this evening? You'll have another opportunity later at the reorg meeting, as I mentioned. Yes.
Karen Geiger, 270 Alfred Street. I just have two simple questions from the authorization to transfer budget appropriations.
You could speak as you wish, but this is not a question and answer session, okay? You can say whatever's on your mind. We may or may not answer your questions, though.
Of course,
Okay?
that's part of the course here. Question. I see that you are transferring money into engineering, $10,000, and into public buildings and grounds, $13,000. And I'd like to know which expenditures in particular have resulted in that large need for extra money in those accounts.
You want to deal with that, or you want to just defer?
I think it's a valid question, but I don't have the answer for that for you right now because those papers are not with me, and the administrator is here, and she would have to assist me in getting that answer, but we can get that information and have it at the January meeting for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes.
Deborah Sabari, 106 Hollywood Avenue. After our last meeting, when it came to my attention that the town was yet again being sued, and this time by a council member, which everybody has the right to sue, my only concern is that there's monetary damages being sought. And I wonder how, as a council person, we can really represent the residents of this town while suing them. So I just wanted to put it out there that I think if you're going to sue, and you're a council person, if you're really doing the best thing for me, you're not looking for monetary damages that are going to be taken from my taxes. That was one. Two, I'd like to know if the board's position has changed on whether Carol can vote on police matters.
Okay, thank you.
I knew that wasn't it.
Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes.
Maria Valari, 45 Jane Drive. I have to say something after listening to Ms. Clark's speech. It was hard for me not to jump up and say something because everybody loves animals. There's just some people that don't, but trust me, I think I love animals more than anybody in this room. What I want to say is that Ms. Clark made a statement about a political reason. Well, I don't know. I can't speak about what I did on the Board of Health. I'm not sure that I can, so I won't do that. But what I will do is say that when Ms. Clark became the president of the Board of Health, one doctor resigned, two people did not get appointed. They were both doctors. And don't tell me that wasn't political, Ms. Clark. My position as Board of Health Secretary was advertised. By the way, the only position in all of Borough Hall that was advertised. And it was advertised in a way that I couldn't apply for it because I didn't qualify. Okay? Later on, she changed it and came to me and said, "Oh, Mrs. Valari, if you'd like to apply." Well, by then, I'm sorry. I don't want to apply for any place where I'm not wanted. I also want to say something about that meeting that she was speaking about. In all the years that I was Board of Health Secretary, we never had police presence at our meetings. On that particular meeting that she is talking about, first of all, there was no shouting, no screaming, no loud speaking, and I wish there was a tape of that, because that's really mean to say. We had a police officer present, and we had her husband, who is also a police officer, staring the 2 or 3 people that were there. There weren't even that many people, so I'm not even sure what she's talking about. As far as the animal shelter in Teterboro, you know what? It's a big environment. We're not going to find out what things that are going on there because it's just too big and too untouchable. I don't understand this concept that is the only place that is good for animals. I would also like to say that one of the I don't know if she's a board member now because I haven't been going to the meetings, but she's a resident and she was on the mayor and council at the time, came to me and wanted me to have cats removed from her property because they were going to attack her. I'm not going to say who it was. I'm really concerned about what was said here about being political. I hate when somebody throws that out there like they're above it, and they're not. And Ms. Clark knows what I'm talking about. Okay, well... All right. She doesn't. Okay. Maybe you should go back. It's amazing. Also, there was a mention about a council person suing. I think that, whatever that lawsuit is about needs to be looked at and discussed, because if somebody is being persecuted in some way, they should have a right to sue, whether they're on a council or not. They're a resident, ultimately, as we all are. Thank you.
Okay, well, just for the record, we actually have two council people suing the borough. Yeah, so, okay, so you're not recognized. You have to raise your hand, remember that? Okay. So let's, see, is there anybody else from the public who wishes to be heard? Okay, let's have a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Let's get to the resolutions. We have dignitaries here who I want to,
Mayor,
yes.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I did, point of order.
Point of order, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You are recognized.
Thank you. And specifically because we do have dignitaries here, and we have representatives who represent all of us, I would like to hope, even though, whether we're Republicans or Democrats, and I would be more than happy to give you a copy of my lawsuit. And I would hope that you're going to read it, every page of it. And it's not about the money, as someone just represented to you, okay? Not only about the money, but it's about further acts of retaliation against the plaintiff and many other things. And I encourage the two of you, I only have one copy, but I hope, Senator, I'm going to give you my copy. And I'm going to ask you to read this and take very seriously when you see these types of
Okay.
sadistic
Let's get back on,
things.
let's get back on
to some-
track.
No, it's very important,
Yeah,
Mayor, because
okay.
it's a misrepresentation of facts.
I want
Thank
you
you.
guys to come back. I don't want to get scared to leave.
Please give the Assemblyman a copy. Thank you.
We love seeing you guys.
And I'm not going to charge him.
Thank you very much. So just when they say it's,
Okay.
thank you.
Let's get to the resolutions.
Thank you, Mayor.
We've got several. I'm going to ask the clerk to read them in. If someone feels like moving, please do so, and second,
Sure.
and let's vote. Okay?
Approval of, 17256, approval of transfer budget appropriations. And E-Part. Councilperson Zaversa. E-Part. Yes. O. Yes. McMorro.
Yes.
M. Park.
Yes.
Wu.
Yes.
257, approval of county tax court judgment, block 711, lot 3. The names are on there. If someone needs to, please say so.
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa? Yes. E. Park? Yes. O?
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu.
Yes.
258, approval of county tax court judgment, block 1104, lot 9, Denise Adrian. Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park? Yes. O?
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu.
Yes.
259, approval of county tax court judgment, block 506, lot 6, Luke Oil North America LLC.
Question,
Yes?
question.
Want to recognize her, Mayor? Yeah. Who's your question to? I'm recognizing you, but I need to know who your question is to.
I'd like to ask a question to the clerk.
In reading, the resolution, the owner is Lukoil. It's not the property. Yeah. Lukoil. It has two owners. The property has one and...
It's Lukoil North America LLC.
The corporation.
Yes. Okay. Second. Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park? Yes. O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
So the next one is 17-260, authorized signing of county agreement for animal shelter. I asked that it be tabled, but you're the council, so a motion to table or a motion to move forward, it's up to you guys.
I think, given the lack of the information we have at this point, Mayor, I think it would be prudent that we make a motion to table this to get more information.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Although I think we should always adhere to the Board of Health people, I'll vote yes to table.
E. Park?
Same here, again, we went over this last time, but, the Board of Health is an autonomous group, they made their decision. I think we should go with it, however, I will agree to table for now, thank you.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
261.
I think we need to clarify, we can't parrot what people from the public say. They're not autonomous, they're semi-autonomous. Okay? So let's just be clear about that.
Resolution SD 17-261, reject proposal for information technology services. Point of order?
Yes.
This is we've been using this past year, correct?
Right.
So why are we rejecting their RFQ?
I'm not satisfied with their services. We had outages all through autumn on our email system, and I think it's time to look around.
Okay.
And you know what, I should also mention, and other litigation-related reasons. Go ahead.
Is that on our end?
On behalf of the borough. Okay. Let's have a vote.
I need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
I'll vote yes.
E. Park? You can abstain. O.
I don't really know much about the outages and problems that we've had, so I'm going to abstain.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the ordinance 17-16, ordinance to add provisions for recreation program fees, hours of operation, and limitation of certain activities at recreational facilities and other provisions. This is a public hearing on this. Have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anyone from the public who wishes to be heard on this ordinance only, please come up. State your name and, yes.
Question, Mayor. Was this ordinance introduced back in December?
So, name and address.
Joe Favaro.
We need to pick you up on the microphone, sir. Thank you.
Joseph Favaro, 70 Johnston Avenue, Angle Cliffs. Was this ordinance introduced in December or November?
It was introduced at the last meeting.
Excuse me?
At the last meeting.
In December? And you're going to adopt it in 2018? Can't do that. It has to be adopted the same year it's introduced. That was by Attorney Sherry Lester of Angle Cliffs. It's now state law. Thank you.
I disagree with that. This is a Sine Die meeting, so it's an extension of the December meeting.
I've done it at Sine Die meetings. Is there a new?
No, I don't know if, Mr. Favaro, you admitted to the Bar of New Jersey? If you are, then we're going to rely on you. Otherwise, we're going to have to follow our lawyer here
Well, and the administrator is saying...
and our administrator. Okay, thanks. Anybody else?
We'll fix it if it's, I mean,
Okay.
we're two professionals.
All right, is no one from the public? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public portion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Point of discussion, Mayor?
Yes, Gloria.
Okay, on, page 1, under section 1, it's left blank. Can that be filled out before we take a vote?
I can't. Page what?
Gloria, can you repeat that, please? And just get closer to your telephone.
On page 1, under section 1, it's entitled, a new section, this new code section shall be entitled.
Yeah.
And it's left blank.
Councilwoman O, I am going to be reviewing with the borough administrator and the borough clerk where to put the entirety of the recreation ordinances and how to title it to be consistent. That will be in a separate ordinance that I expect to put either January or February, because we do have a reserved code section that I would recommend we put all of our recreation ordinances into, and the question was whether we call it recreation programs and facilities, or park programs and facilities, or borough property and recreation ordinance. So because I didn't have the ability to look at how to title it and where to put it, I do not have that section ready. So we're adopting it with the current title that you see there. And then what needs to be done is the entirety of the new code chapter needs to be named. It will be put to the mayor and council in a separate ordinance.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Another question, is on the bottom of that same page, on the very last line,
Yes?
can that be Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, not Edgewater, New Jersey?
Well, actually, that provision is a repeat of what is in the current code, and apparently, the U.S. Naval Observatory does not make publications for every town in a state. So that's the nearest one that applies to Englewood Cliffs. That Edgewater is already in your code provisions. This is a repeat. I'm bringing all of the ordinances from various parts of the code into one section. This is a repeat of what is already in your code.
Okay, can we proceed?
She's done.
Point of order. I make a motion to table this. It's just, I don't want to do, just pass this today and then have to take 2 steps back and have to enter a code that we don't have right now or a title, and then also figure out whether or not we need to reintroduce and then adopt again. Can we just put this over to the next meeting? To our regular
I
meeting?
don't recommend you do that because we're doing it from the last meeting to the sign done. If there is an issue-
Upon the recommendation of the administrator to have it done.
Right,
So I
so
would like that.
if there is an issue with having to reintroduce it, I can certainly put the housekeeping ordinances in. Housekeeping meaning where do we want it in the code, etc. But I recommend you go forward with a vote. I don't see any reason to table.
It's not going to change the ordinance, it's just going to change it. That's what you're saying, right?
The housekeeping for this separate ordinance that I'm speaking about is the title of the code and the code numbering. That's all it is. And I didn't want to do it without talking with
Right,
Kathy.
so there won't be any substantive changes.
Okay.
Right.
So I don't think we need to table.
Okay.
Let's move forward. A motion?
So moved.
To adopt?
Wait,
Cal moved. Ed
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, Mayor's end-of-year comments. I'm going to reserve most of my comments for the reorg meeting, but I do want to thank all those who worked with me this year to accomplish a lot. And those who didn't, I hope you see the sun shine soon and come over to our side and work with us, not against us. That's pretty good, Ed, right? Any unfinished business? Okay, there's no unfinished business. Can I have a motion to adjourn to Sine Die?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's take a few minutes, reorganize ourselves, and then we'll start the reorg.